want to talk to you about a book that I just read called Teach Like a Pirate. It's by a guy named Dave Burgess, who is, I would say, even a bit of a radical. Um, but basically, his book is about this theory about teaching and about how to spice up the classroom, if you will. So he breaks the first section of the book. It's split up into three sections. Um, the first section is actually it goes through the word pirate, which he uses actually as an acronym. So it is broken down into passion, immersion, rapport, ask and analyze, transformation, and enthusiasm. So Burgess really uses like the first part of this book to it's almost like a motivational speech in a way. Just hey, like, it seems like it's directed more towards people that are already teaching than it may have like lost their motivation or just love for the job itself. So Burgess breaks it down and kind of gives you this motivational speech about just how to ignite your classroom and how to make it fun, how to put your heart back into it, and he goes. The most emphasis he puts on it is the enthusiasm section. Just pretty much that if you learn nothing else from this book, be enthusiastic about what you teach. Um, and I think it's actually funny because one of my favorite quotes in this book comes off page 69. It says, "Unlike passion, enthusiasm can be faked," which a lot of people would disagree with, but I think that's actually a really great point. So what I really want to talk to you about is the second part. Part two is really it's really all about how to do it, and he even says himself, all these workshops and everything that teachers go to, they always try to tell you, that you need to spice your classroom up. You need to be enthusiastic. You need to do this. You need to have a great hook, and then they never tell you how to do it. And I really commend Burgess on the fact that he goes into detail, and like you can see some of the stuff. Like I wrote a lot in the margins, and although I'm not even teaching yet, I have to say that this gave me a lot of great ideas for ways to make assignments more fun and just to teach certain things that maybe I'm not even passionate about or even like in a more fun manner. In fact, he opens his book with something that we disagreed on, which is about certain sections in history that he's not a fan of. So, for example, he breaks them down to the Picasso hook, the Mozart hook. He uses music. He also uses kinesthetics, and while I don't want to spoil you like exactly what his hooks are, I will tell you that they're good and that they are really interesting as far as ways to implement excitement into the classroom. He goes in the idea that teaching should be like 50% content and like 50% entertainment, and it's that can be bold for a lot of people, but I personally feel that that's a great idea. Nobody wants to learn something, and he talks about how kids they dread school because it's so boring. And so his idea is, hey, let's make this entertaining so that people, will want to learn more. They will be more interested in the topic. One of the things, the opportunistic hook, what current events are related to this lesson, just certain things like that. And I really think that's a great way. And even he goes even into a behavior management speech in a way. On page 114, he says, "I will often use the class clowns as actors in my choreographed chaos segments. They want to get attention and interject themselves into your lesson anyway, so why not have them be on your terms and in a way that serves your message?" That's a fantastic idea. I personally was the class clown in high school and doing things often to get attention and just goof around. And if I, as a teacher, can take that kid who normally just gets disciplined for having fun or wanting to be, involved and getting attention, hey man, make that kid interesting. Make him part of what you learn. So I did some research, and I found a couple of articles that either contradict or agree with Burgess's message. So one from The Conversation called "We Need Creative Teaching to Teach Creativity." It's the idea that people who have not been taught creatively, they won't teach creatively. So I have some friends of mine that stick straight to their PowerPoints, and they just, it is death by PowerPoint, and there's no enthusiasm in it. And so I personally had a bunch of creative teachers, and I really like the idea of, hey, spicing up the classroom, act goofy. and do all these things. And so one of the quotes from the article says, over the last few decades, a lot of evidence has been generated that not only disproves the idea that creativity is an inborn trait, but actually indicates the direct opposite. Burgess himself talks about the idea that, teachers come to him and say, hey, well, you were just born creative. I don't have that type of creativity. I wasn't something that I was blessed with, whatever. And Burgess talks about, yeah, you're exactly right. You don't have that creativity because you never worked for it. He said, I've been teaching for 16 years and I was not always like this. And it wasn't until I decided to look into creativity and tried to be creative myself that it actually happened for me. So I thought that was fascinating. His idea on creativity is, and it kind of goes back to the psychology, is teaching an art or teaching a science. And I've always said it was a mixture of both. Those who are born with a passion will look deeper into their subjects and they'll do everything to perfect their methods and their content even. Another great article I found was actually from the Irish Times, and it talks about the reason why modern teaching methods don't work. And of course, you got to give some credit to the Irish for hating everything comfortable and loving, soft things. They like just terrible, just awful things. I love the Irish. They're great people. But one of the things that they talk about is that there are, schools in Ireland that have tried this. And basically they said up until the 1960s, and I'm trying to find the quote for you guys, that schools in Ireland were exactly what you would see, like maybe on Andy Griffith. It was a teacher with a blackboard standing in front of a classroom, and that was it. And all of a sudden there were these philosophers that disagreed with that, and they felt that there was just a need to essentially take on the Western idea of, hey, you need to, entertain, you need to make school fun, do all these terrible things that in the view of the Irish. And so they actually claim that there is evidence to support that it's not working, that the scores are failing, and kids are actually having a hard time in school because they're not the traditional methods. And I'll be honest, in some sense I can see where they're coming from. I know that since I graduated from high school, I actually prefer the lecture style because I have the attention span now of a 25-year-old man who can listen to somebody talk about something, and engage in a discussion. But even still, I do see myself when I was in high school needing that break, those brain breaks and the entertainment. My favorite teachers in the world did the craziest stuff, and that's always how it was. And I think Burgess would highly disagree with the Irish Times, who jokingly, I would say, represent the Irish people pretty well. Just don't like fun. They don't like to be happy. That was just a small joke for any people that are Irish out there. But I think that Burgess would highly disagree with that. That if you're a kid, you're gonna need that just that break. And so again, that's my view. I think that Burgess would also agree with me on that. The last one is from Edutopia, of course. It talks about creativity in the classroom. It gives 3 strategies, but I want to talk about one specifically, which is the open-ended projects. And I have to say that Burgess does a fantastic job about talking about projects, but one of my favorite things he did was give an example. He's from San Diego, and one of the things he asked his kids is, hey, how long do you think it'd take you to get to the beach? And they're like, oh, about 45 minutes. He's like, okay, well, what if you weren't driving? And so what he challenges his kids to do, and it's 4 extra credits, so I think that's also kind of cool. It's not a mandatory project, obviously, and you'll see why in a second. One of the things he challenges his kids to do is come in on a Saturday, and they have to start at the door of his classroom, and they walk all the way from his classroom to the beach. And while that sounds crazy, the point behind the lesson is actually to teach them about the automobile industry and how much of an impact that had on the United States. So it is a crazy way to think about, okay, he just asked kids to walk in. He talks about how they walk for 10 to 12 hours trying to reach the beach on their own, on foot. And that's, but he gives them extra credit if they do it. And another thing he does is let them go find a certain person's grave who is buried in Northern California, I think close to the San Diego or San Francisco area rather, and he gives them extra credit for doing this. But he talks about how you see some of the worst kids in his class, like some of the kids that don't want to learn, they don't engage. The kids that come in, they're the ones that participate and stuff like that. And so while the EdUtopia article does talk about more so like the semester long projects and stuff, I do think that Burgess, his idea of a project is actually it takes on more of a kinesthetic approach in a way. And I really, really liked his ideas there. So that were 3 articles that I found. And again, there's more stuff in each article as well as the book. And I did a terrible job trying to summarize a fantastic book for you guys. But I would highly recommend picking up. Again, it's called Teach Like a Pirate. It's by a guy named Dave Burgess. Fantastic theories and just ideas about teaching itself from a man who's done it for a long time and loves it more than anything in the world. So that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for your time. And so again, go grab the book and give it a read. I think you'll really enjoy it. Thanks.